G'day rankers, welcome back. Well, a lot's happened this week. It wasn't that long ago, I think it was a couple of weeks, where I said every business needs an agentic framework. And because it's been absolutely amazing for us and for me personally to have this in the business and have Jan there, sitting there, and I'll be able to throw tasks to her and get things done. And now everyone's following the agentic framework. Not mine, but they're following what OpenClaw has open, which is this massive can of worms that shows the value of having an agentic framework sitting locally in your business. And you may remember, I tried OpenClaw, thought it was a little bit too dangerous for me to be playing with too much. I now use Hermes from Nous Research, and it's fantastic. I don't have any of the security concerns that I have. It's easy for me to use, set up. It has access to everything that Jan had access to, and it is now powering Jan for me. So it's still on my iPhone, it still has access to ClickUp, Calendar, Gmail, Google Drive, Slack, all the things I need to get work done. And so that's great for us. So there's a new OpenClaw, if you like, open source, that you can just go and download for free and use right now. You can plug whatever large language model that you use into it. So completely safe. Probably still need to be a little bit technical. If you want something to try easy to start to getting your head around this agentic first framework in business, have a look at Claude Cowork, which I've spoken about previously. They've since upgraded it so that you can get it to schedule tasks and everything else, like I'm doing with Jan, access to your Gmail, your Drive, all that sort of stuff. The other thing that they've just announced is that you can now get it working from your phone. So you might be out on the road having lunch somewhere, whatever. You can now message your local machine back at the office and get it to work on something for you, or continue a conversation that you had when you left the office. So there's a lot of stuff happening there with Claude Cowork. People saying great things about it. Perplexity announced their agentic framework a couple of weeks ago. Now they're shipping it with a Mac Mini, so it's all pre-configured. You don't have to do anything. It's turnkey, out of the box, bang. All you need to do is pay them a subscription fee, of course. And who else has got one? Zuckerberg went out and bought Manus AI, and Manus AI I reviewed a couple of years ago. Amazing assistant, amazing agent. And they have now developed a desktop version of that. And one of the powerful things about these agents or these agentic frameworks is that if you have them sitting locally, you get much more use out of them. And so that's what they've done with Manus AI. Previously, it was all sitting in the cloud. And so they've doubled down on that. The other thing that's happened, which just blew me away, was this I saw during the week, and it's from the Microsoft lead for OpenClaw, which I didn't even know there was one. I didn't even know Microsoft was in the conversation, but of course OpenAI bought OpenClaw, right? And he has said, you read it right there, meeting with Microsoft Teams to get OpenClaw out into Microsoft Teams. So that's coming to Microsoft Teams. Remember, this is the agent that the head of Meta AI Safety, I think it was, had her whole inbox deleted, unrecoverable, because she was running OpenClaw on her local machine. Now, obviously, Microsoft isn't going to do that to all their customers, right? And anybody who was recommending installing OpenClaw always said, don't install it on your main machine, install it on a clean machine, because it's a bit wild. Hermes from Nous Research, that I'm using now, powering Jan, isn't like that at all. It is stable, it's secure, I'm very happy with it. I get to choose which model I use with it. So that happened with Microsoft Teams. And then yesterday, Jensen Huang, CEO and founder, of NVIDIA, and he came out and said that everybody should have an agentic business strategy. Agents first, because it's so much more valuable. You get things done. And he was saying that, it sounds dangerous for the enterprise. Yes, because these agents, they can have access to sensitive data, they can execute code, create code, and they can communicate externally from the organization. Very risky. What he has said yesterday is that they've basically worked through all of that stuff, and they've developed a thing called NemoClaw. And they've developed this with the help of the founder of OpenClaw, or the developer of OpenClaw. So this isn't something that's happening in isolation. So they've released this NemoClaw harness, and of course it's probably going to be free because the large language model that they released this week too, which is awesome, I've tried it already, is also free. And remember, NVIDIA is a hardware manufacturer, a chip manufacturer. So their play is that this stuff that they've developed works really, really well on their hardware. And of course, because their main competitor now is Apple, who's coming out with the M5 chip and everything else. And everything is around agents now. And that means that's who's visiting your store. So when I did that show last week, my mind was blown. And I guess it's because I've been out of it for so long in that sort of traditional old school SEO space, where SEOs are talking about the value of schema and whether LLMs use it or not. It's like, if you read any of the research papers, a lot of the research into neural nets, they don't actually know what's going inside them. What they do know, and what I know, and what anybody who's been using these tools for the last 3 years knows, is that if you structure your inputs properly, you'll get a better output. And that's all we're talking about with the website. It is about structuring your inputs properly, which is all your metadata. And Harvey Finkelstein, CEO of Shopify, has also come out this week and said, you know, we're working towards where the main traffic on your site is people's shopping agents, not people themselves, right? And that makes a lot of sense to me. It's what I wrote in my book 2 years ago, and it's what's happening now, because it just makes sense, right? And so that's why things like trying to use an old SEO template and place it over what large language models is doing is just not helpful. All right, what you need to be doing is making sure that the large language models understand, you know, everything that their customers need to know. What do your shoppers need to know? What are the frequently asked questions? Are you already answering them through your metadata? Like, for instance, I had a client a couple of years ago. We did some competitive analysis using a few AI tools, and we found that, you know, one of their products didn't have an IP rating and it didn't have anything about the batteries, you know, were they included, right? And there was nothing in the description, nothing in the meta fields. And he said, oh, I get asked about that all the time. It's like, seriously? Put it on the page, because agents need to know that, because that's what the shoppers are asking. That's what your customers are asking. And they're the little things that, you know, SEO wouldn't have looked at. And certainly not SEO today doesn't seem to want to look at. But that's what we're looking at, which is why we've developed Score. And I'm happy to say you can go download, install this on your Shopify store today. We've already got a list of improvements coming, and they'll be starting to roll out next week. So if you've got anything, please give us some feedback. We'd love to hear it. And I'll put the link in the description. There it is on screen. But everything that we're doing now is about, if someone's agent was trying to buy this product, could they do it? And that's what Score is now starting to tell us and show us. And every client so far, I've found work that we need to do. And it would have just been too cost prohibitive to go through and check all these things manually. But now we've got the app in there, we can see what's going on, and we can see day to day, if our score changes, we can see what bots are coming into the site, all that sort of thing, see what pages they're visiting. So it really helps us. I've only got a couple of 3 clients installed at the moment, so I'll be getting more installed. So I don't have any case studies to show you. So if you want to be one of those, please let me know. And please remember, like, share, subscribe. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments wherever you see this video, and we will see you next week. Thanks very much. Bye.